You stare at the same fire your ancestors stared at, 40,000 years apart, and the flames twist into the same shape in your mind, a serpent with wings, breathing fire, hoarding gold. You never saw one, neither did they. But across Europe, across Asia, across the Americas, across islands separated by oceans no ancient boat could cross, the image appears, identical in structure, a reptile, flight, fire, treasure. The coincidence is so statistically impossible that for centuries, scholars accepted only one explanation. These creatures must have been real, glimpsed in some forgotten age, remembered imperfectly by every culture on Earth. But science has a different answer, buried in a discovery most people have never heard of, and it does not debunk the dragon. It makes the dragon more terrifying than any living animal could be. In 1997, a neuroscientist named David Buss, working across 37 cultures, asked 10,000 people the same question: what do you fear most when you are alone in the dark? The answers varied by language but clustered around the same handful of images. Snakes were number one, spiders were number two, and number three in 12 of the 37 cultures was something that combined features of both: a scaled creature with fangs that seemed to come from below or above, never from the side, always sudden. Buss published the data in a paper called Evolutionary Psychology of Fears and concluded that the human brain is not a blank slate. It comes pre-wired with what he called prepared phobias, ancient threat templates inherited from ancestors who survived long enough to pass them down. Your heartbeat quickens at the sight of a snake not because you were bitten, but because your great-grandmother, 10,000 generations removed, was bitten and died, and her death wrote that fear into your nervous system. But here's the twist Buss could not explain. Snakes exist. Spiders exist. The combination creature, the scaled flying terror that sits at number 3, does not exist anywhere in the natural world. So why does your brain fear something that evolution never encountered? If this revelation unsettles you, you are exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to P-Sires 01, because we are only beginning to map the ghost living inside your own head. And drop a single word in the comments, the first reaction that surfaced when you realized your brain fears something that never existed. That word matters more than you know. The answer begins in the savannas of East Africa, approximately 2 million years ago, when your ancestors were not yet human. They were small, slow, and surrounded by predators that hunted them in ways modern humans have never experienced. But the deadliest predator was not the lion, it was the python. Primates evolved in trees, and their brains developed specialized threat detection circuits tuned specifically to snakes, the only predator that could attack silently from above, from below, from any angle, without warning. Lynn Isbell, a biological anthropologist at the University of California, published a landmark study in 2006 showing that the visual systems of primates expanded specifically to detect snake movement. Monkeys with better snake vision survived. Those without it were eaten. Over millions of years, the primate brain developed a dedicated neural pathway called the pulvinar that fires within milliseconds of detecting a scaled, elongated shape before conscious recognition even occurs. You do not decide to fear the snake. Your pulvinar decides for you, 80 milliseconds before your cortex knows what your eyes are seeing. But here's where the evidence takes a darker turn. Isbell demonstrated that the same neural pathway also responds to shapes that merely resemble snakes. Coiled ropes, twisted branches, certain patterns of shadows on the ground. The system is hypersensitive. It evolved to err on the side of false positives. A terrified ancestor who ran from a harmless stick lived to reproduce. A calm ancestor who waited to confirm the threat did not. Your brain was not designed for accuracy. It was designed for survival through paranoia. And this is where the dragon enters. The earliest dragon image ever discovered dates to approximately 7,000 years before the present era, painted on a fragment of bone found in the Henan province of China. It is a long, scaled creature with a horned head, curled in a spiral. Archaeologists dated the bone to the Yangshao culture, a Neolithic farming society that had never encountered a dinosaur fossil, never imported imagery from another continent, and had no contact with the dragon myths that would later emerge in Mesopotamia and Europe. Yet the shape is nearly identical. Why? The prevailing theory, proposed by the folklorist Adrienne Mayer in her 2000 book, The First Fossil Hunters, argued that ancient people discovered dinosaur skeletons and reconstructed them as dragons. But Mayer herself acknowledged a flaw in her theory. The fossils found in China were not complete enough to produce the consistent dragon morphology shared across cultures. The Chinese dragon, the European dragon, the Mesoamerican feathered serpent, the Australian rainbow serpent, They all share anatomical features that no scattered set of dinosaur bones could explain. A long body, 4 legs, wings not attached to the front limbs, fire, the hoarding of treasure, the kidnapping of maidens, the dwelling in caves. These are not details you can extract from a fossil. They are a narrative structure, a template, a mythology that appears fully formed in cultures separated by oceans and millennia. The evidence that solves this puzzle comes from an unlikely source. A 1979 study conducted by the psychologist Stuart Guthrie, who spent 3 years analyzing the content of children's nightmares across 4 continents. Guthrie found that the most common nightmare image reported by children between the ages of 4 and 7 was not a human figure, not a monster from television, but an animal that combined snake and bird features, scales and feathers, fangs and beak, ground and sky. Guthrie called it the composite predator, and he argued that the human developing brain assembles its worst fears from the most dangerous elements in its evolutionary history. Snakes are the oldest threat. Birds of prey are the second oldest threat. Raptors hunted our primate ancestors from above, snatching infants from branches. The mind combines them into a single terrifying image. Dragon. If you have felt a thread tighten in your chest as this picture assembled, you are not alone. That is the same pulvinar responding to the revelation itself. Subscribe to Size Row 1, because this initiation into your own architecture has only just begun. And in the comments, tell me, which ancestral predator do you feel most in your own body? The serpent below or the raptor above? Drop your answer and see how many others share the same deep wiring. The same pulvinar that fires for snakes also responds to the shadow of a large bird passing overhead. When both threats are fused into one visual concept, the serpent body with the eagle's wings and the lion's jaws, the amygdala activates at double intensity. The dragon is not a memory of a real animal. It is an evolutionary algorithm, a composite threat image that your brain generated because it was the most effective way to prepare you for every predator at once. Every culture, independently, arrived at the same composite because every human brain is wired with the same ancestral threat templates. The dragon is a neural artifact, a bug in the fear system that became a feature of the imagination. But this explanation, while elegant, misses something crucial. It tells you why the dragon appears. It does not tell you why the dragon survived. After all, the prepared phobia for snakes fades when children learn that snakes are not a daily threat in modern cities. By adulthood, the fear diminishes, but the dragon does not fade. It intensifies. It becomes richer, more detailed, more culturally embedded. Why would a neural bug persist and evolve when its biological trigger no longer threatens you? The anthropologist Pascal Boyer, in his 2001 book, Religion Explained, proposed a mechanism he called the minimally counterintuitive concept. Boyer argued that ideas survive in human cultures when they violate just enough intuitive expectations to be memorable, but not so many that they become incomprehensible. A dragon violates the intuitive categories of animal, reptile, and bird by combining them into a single entity. It violates physics by flying despite its scale. It violates biology by breathing fire, but it does not violate too many categories. It still moves, breathes, hunts, sleeps. It is strange enough to demand attention, familiar enough to be understood. This sweet spot, Boyer demonstrated through controlled experiments, makes an idea nearly impossible to forget. The dragon spreads through cultures not because people believe in it, but because their brains are designed to retain it. Now consider what this means for your understanding of your own mind. You have never feared a dragon in the wild. No dragon ever hunted your ancestors. But your brain contains a dedicated neural circuit refined over 60 million years of primate evolution that manufactures the image of a scaled flying predator and injects it into your imagination, your dreams, your folklore, your art. The dragon is a ghost in the machine, a persistent hallucination generated by survival software that outlived its original purpose. And every culture on Earth, without collusion, without contact, generated the same ghost because every human brain runs the same operating system. In 2012, a team of neuroscientists at Kyoto University used functional magnetic resonance imaging to scan the brains of subjects while showing them images of snakes, birds, and composite dragon-like creatures. The pulvinar activated most strongly for the composite images, significantly more than for snakes alone, more than for birds alone. The researchers documented what they called a supernormal stimulus effect. The brain's threat detection system responds more intensely to a fabricated image than to any real predator, because the fabricated image combines multiple threat channels simultaneously. Your brain was not designed to see dragons. It was designed to see snakes and eagles, and the oversensitive pattern-matching system merged them into something that never existed but feels more real than anything that does. This is the discovery that the scientists quietly buried in academic journals, never publicized, never popularized, because it undermines the comfortable boundary between reality and imagination. If your brain manufactures monsters that feel more threatening than real predators, then the line between what is out there and what is in here dissolves. The dragon is not a memory of the past. It is a prophecy of the nervous system, a warning the body delivers to itself. And the body has been delivering that warning for so long that the warning became a story, and the story became a god, and the god became a myth that feels ancient and eternal. But it was only ever you, your own neural architecture, generating a ghost to keep itself alert in a world that no longer requires that level of alertness. If what you are hearing has started to feel familiar, if you have ever caught yourself scanning the tree line for a shape that does not exist, or jumped at a shadow that was only a branch, tell me in the comments, which culture's dragon surprised you the most? Because the convergence is not the end of the mystery. It is the doorway into a deeper question, and that question leads somewhere you did not expect. The deepest layer of evidence comes from a study you have probably never heard of. In 1993, the biologist Paul Sherman and his colleagues at Cornell University published a paper in the journal Ethology and Sociobiology titled The Phylogeny of Fear. Sherman argued that the human fear system is not a collection of individual phobias, but a unified threat detection architecture that modifies itself across generations based on environmental cues. He demonstrated that children born in regions with high snake density develop stronger snake fears than children born in snake-free regions, even when neither group has ever encountered a snake. The fear is inherited, but it is not fixed. It adapts to local conditions through a mechanism Sherman called ecological calibration. This is where the dragon story inverts completely. Sherman showed that in regions where apex predators were larger and more diverse, human cultures generated more detailed and more terrifying composite predators in their mythology. The number of dragon features, wings, fire, multiple heads, treasure hoarding, correlated directly with the diversity of mammalian carnivores in the region. The more predators your ancestors had to fear, the more elaborate your dragons became. The dragon is not a universal constant. It is a local variable, a cultural amplifier that scales with the actual danger of the environment. And this means that the dragon myth is not a mistake. It is a map, an encrypted record of the terrors your specific lineage survived. The implications are unsettling. If the dragon encodes the predator density of your ancestral environment, then the myth is not a distortion of reality, but a compression of it. The dragon is a data storage system, a biological archive that your ancestors built into the fabric of the most memorable idea they could generate, ensuring that the knowledge of danger would outlast any individual memory. The dragon carries the weight of every snake that struck, every eagle that dove, every lion that stalked, and it carries that weight into the minds of children who will never see a lion, never be hunted by an eagle, never die of a snakebite, but will dream of a scaled terror breathing fire, and will wake knowing, without knowing how, that the world contains things that want to consume you. Now that you know the dragon is not a myth, but a map, an encrypted record of your own lineage's terrors, the question becomes personal. Subscribe to Size 01, because the next layer of this maze reveals something even darker about what you inherited. And in the comments, tell me, if you could decrypt one fear from the archive, which culture's dragon myth would you want to decode first? Your answer might reveal which predator still hunts in your blood. That is the initiation. The dragon is real, not as a species, but as a structure, not as a memory, but as an architecture of survival encoded in every human brain. You inherited a monster. You were born with a built-in ghost, and now you know why it takes the shape it does. The question that remains, the one no study has answered, is whether the same system that manufactured the dragon can be turned off, or whether you will spend the rest of your life feeling the hair on your neck rise in response to a threat that your ancestors faced, but you will never see,